Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Today I'm going to take you through how I painted one of my most liked ocean paintings. A lot of you seem to like it over on TikTok, so I've done my best to recreate it for you so you can see exactly what I did and you can try it for yourself. All the materials I used are linked in the description, but obviously you don't have to use the exact ones I used. They're just there for a reference or if you're interested. So to start with, we're going to be mixing our colours first. I thought I'd keep it really simple and only use 3 colours so it's quite accessible and you can just easily substitute them for whatever you have at home. But the 3 colours I'm using are lamp black, titanium white and indigo blue. So the first colour we're going to be mixing is the darkest colour that we're going to use for the ocean. So we're taking some titanium white, a pretty substantial amount of indigo blue, and then a tiny bit of lamp black, and we're just mixing that all together. We're then taking some of this dark blue and mixing it with some more titanium white to make our medium shade, and then we're going to repeat this process to make the lighter shade of blue that we'll be using. And then to mix the colour that we'll be using for the sky, we're just taking a higher proportion of lamp black compared to indigo blue and then mixing that with titanium white. In this case we'll only be using 2 shades, a lighter grey and a darker grey. For this tutorial I'm using a round canvas which I had lying around because it came ripped. I did get it replaced, but I didn't want to chuck this one out because it just seemed like a waste, and I thought it would be perfect for this tutorial. But obviously just use whatever shaped canvas you have at home. This works just as well with a normal rectangular canvas or a square. Also right here you'll see that I'm using refined linseed oil. This is just a medium and it helps to thin out the paint and slow down the drying time. It just makes it a lot easier to work with. And how I use it is I dip my brush into the oil every time before I dip it into my paint. So firstly we're starting by outlining the shape of our waves. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit rough at the moment because it's oil paint, it's really easy to shift around on the canvas so we can clean it up later and blend it all out. At this stage in the painting we're not really worried about adding in any sort of detail. We're just painting really loosely and really roughly, and the detail will come later. As I mentioned before, the painting that I'm doing in today's tutorial is a recreation of a previous piece that I already did a few weeks ago. And one of the main questions that I got for that piece was, did I use a reference photo, and if I did, where did I get it from, or did I take it myself? So I actually found the reference that inspired the piece over on Shutterstock. And for those of you that don't know, Shutterstock is basically an image library which has licensed images, videos, music, and you can pay for the license to use a certain image or video. Basically I found an image on Shutterstock and I just used the shape of the foreground waves. I didn't really use the reference for anything other than the shape of the foreground waves. I didn't use the colour palette, the layout, I didn't use anything else from the image. I just used it for those 2 big waves in the foreground. I've painted so many oceans at this point that I don't really feel the need to use references for most of them anymore. But if I ever do need a reference, Shutterstock is definitely really good. There are other free image libraries where you can pay to use licensed images such as Pixabay. I think Adobe has some stock images as well. I'm not entirely sure, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. But yeah, there are loads of places online where you can pay to use images, and this is what I would do instead because obviously I'm selling this painting, so you need to pay for the license. Other than that, sometimes I do take my own references. I'll just go down to the beach with my camera. But most of the time I find that following a reference just makes me focus on the end product way too much and not really enjoy the process and just get really worried that it's not looking like the photo. So if I just combine a few reference photos, I'm usually a lot happier with what I create in the end, as I don't really have as many expectations for it. paint the sky, we're just taking the darker grey and using that on the top, and then taking the lighter grey shade that we mixed and using that on the bottom. We'll be using our blending brushes in a minute and then mixing it all together to make it a really smooth gradient. It may seem strange that I'm just painting the sky halfway through, but honestly I just didn't really think about it at the beginning. But with any painting, I always prefer to do the sky before I do the horizon line, because for me personally it's just a lot easier to paint the horizon line from underneath as opposed to painting it from above. I just find it's a lot easier to make it a straight line. Now we finished the sky, we're back onto the ocean. So we're taking our blending brush and we're just going to be very lightly blending in between the shapes. We don't want to be over blending, we still want there to be quite a contrast and we still want to keep the shapes that we've just outlined. But when we're blending, we just want to make sure that all the lines are quite soft. Now we're going to be taking a medium brush or a flat brush, whichever one you have on hand, and we're going to be adding a few details. So to do this, I just add some random lines which kind of follow the shapes that we've already outlined. And now I'm just taking the lightest blue that we mixed and I'm just going to be taking that all the way up to the horizon line and filling the background in. Since the waves in the background are going to be a lot smaller, I think it's a lot easier to just paint a block colour and then to paint the waves on top of this instead of doing what we've done for the foreground and painting some shapes and then filling in between them and blending it all together. Because the waves in the background are so small, this method works just fine. Here I'm just taking the lighter shade of blue that we mixed and just using it to add a few lines into the darkest shapes that I've outlined. I'm then taking the blending brush and blending it out so that it all looks quite smooth. Again, I'm taking the flat brush and the darkest shade of blue that we mixed and I'm just using this to add in some more details. Now for the background, I'm taking the medium blue and I'm using it to outline some really rough waves in the distance. These will get a little bit blended out so that they look quite soft and your attention's drawn to the foreground. As you'll see for the last bit, a lot of it is mainly just adding in some details and blending out certain parts. With a lot of the details that I'm adding in, I'm not really thinking about it too much. I'm just adding in some lines that kind of flow with the shapes we've already painted and blending these out, but not too much, just enough so that it all looks like it flows and fits together really nicely. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and maybe liked the video if you've liked this tutorial so far. If you've got anything you'd like me to improve, please let me know in the comments. I'm willing to take on some constructive advice. Maybe you can let me know what tutorials you'd like to see in the future. I've got a lot of paintings over on TikTok and I always get comments asking for tutorials, but if there are any pieces where a lot of you want a tutorial for it, I'll be really happy to recreate it for you and show you exactly how I did it. Yeah, I know quite a few of you have been waiting for this tutorial for quite a while. I've been editing this video for like 5-ish weeks on and off because I'm really slow at editing, but I'm going to hopefully speed up and I'll be able to upload a lot more often. If you'd be interested in any other kind of videos, maybe some vlogs, maybe some packing videos, or maybe some videos on my tips for how to grow your social media, just let me know and I'll be happy to film those for you. I'll probably be able to get those kind of videos out a lot quicker than I can with tutorials. So yeah, just let me know down in the comments, I'd really appreciate it and I'll reply to as many as I can. So yeah, this is pretty much the end of the video. I'm just adding the last few little highlights with some titanium white and then blending those out, as you can see obviously. But yeah, I really appreciate you sticking around in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful and I would really love to see what you create from this. Just tag me on Instagram and yeah, hope you have a really good day and happy painting. Bye!